Find out what we get from Ryan Hollins,
Please.
who is a longtime NBA vet, a very good friend of ours here at 95.7 The Game, and the analyst for the Houston Rockets. So he is in the building right now. My man Ryan, how are you, brother? It's good to hear your voice.
Doing good. How you guys doing?
Hey, we're doing fine. I want to know your expertise, especially with all your time in the league. What does it mean when a team struggles on the road? What does that say about that group?
You got great home fans. You know that. No, but in all seriousness, when you play on the road, everything has to tighten up. You got to keep the momentum of the game low. You don't want the opposing team's crowd to get involved. You typically like to slow the game down. And, you got to execute. You really got to execute even more. Guys play better. And I was always told this, the biggest difference is not the stars. Stars always show up. It's the role players that play better at home. So from that role players category, some of those guys need to take a leap. But it is much easier to play well at home. And, I was on teams that sometimes had the opposite. I remember, if I'm not mistaken, we had a spell there with the Clippers where we played better on the road. And sometimes because you have distractions at home and you kind of get a chance to get away from everything. So I think every team is different. It's unique situations, but I think sometimes you can point to, hey, the role players are different, and opposing teams' role players, they do play better at home. So there's a number of different categories, but typically you like to slow the game down. You don't want the game to be close, and you got to do a little bit more when you are on the road.
Can it get in your head a little bit, even if you're a championship caliber player like the Warriors have, to where you're 7-29 on the road and it feels like almost a self-fulfilling prophecy of negativity going on the road?
It can. And you got to understand, for the Warriors, no matter what condition they're in, there are two tickets that essentially sell out no matter where they are, when the Lakers come to town and when the Warriors come to town. So they're getting everyone's A++ effort. And this is a league, guys, that's younger than ever. A lot of these young guys are playing out of their minds against the Warriors. They grew up watching Steph and Clay. That's their, Jordan and Scotty right there. So they're getting the A++ effort. I tell you one thing, in Toyota Center, this game was marked off for a very long time. And when you are that team also, and Mark, you know this more than anybody, the Warriors had a lot of, when they were really, really rolling, they would smile, they danced, they laughed. So sometimes there's a bit of a revenge tour with the Warriors. You guys have seen that probably the last 3 or 4 years, where finally you get a chance to beat them, and you got guys, it means a little more beating them because the way they celebrated.
Talk to him, Ryan.
They were good.
I was trying to tell him, Ryan. I was trying to tell him that all these young teams, they want to give the Warriors their best punch, but Mark didn't believe me.
Oh no, you'll see Houston's best punch here tonight. This game was best at all.
I guess my response would be the Golden State Warriors should be talented enough to handle the best response from Houston or Orlando or Detroit, and they haven't been this year, Ryan, and they've let it bother them. How does it resonate with you when you see the 4-time champs, instead of just brushing their shoulders off, they're letting it get under their skin, they're putting 4 fingers up, pointing them to Dylan Brooks in Memphis, pointing them to Devin Booker in Phoenix? It feels to me like they should just be above it. No?
No, I mean, we can't tell Klay Thompson not to be Klay. Klay's a competitor. Dre is a competitor. Those guys, their attitude can't change whether they're on top or on the bottom or somewhere in the middle. That's who they are. Now, if it gets down to it, this is a championship game or moment, you're going to lean towards. But they're not beneath that. Those guys are going to compete. Those guys are going to talk trash. They're a bit of throwbacks. And I never mind the trash talk from the guys who back it up. So I think those guys, out of anybody in our league, those established guys, they have a reason where they can go out and talk and speak. So I don't mind hearing it. I think Klay can talk his talk. Okay, he can go out and do whatever he wants. But obviously, you like to see it backed up. But I think they've done more than that in their time in the league.
Rockets obviously looking toward next year and maybe Victor Wembanyama, but because they're pretty much cemented in the bottom 3, knowing they'll have an equal shot at the lottery, are they starting to play with a little bit more enthusiasm here down the stretch?
I wouldn't say so. I mean, listen, man, there's a number of variables that can go into with a record the way it is. But listen, man, you saw San Antonio just full on treat a couple of these games like Summer League, sitting guys on back-to-backs. It was ridiculous. You haven't seen that in Houston. Our guys are coming out to play. We just don't have a roster that can take injuries. You missed Jayshawn Tate a bit early in the year. Kevin Porter Jr. missed about 20 or so odd games. That really hurt. There's a couple positions that can't be replaced on top of a young team learning to play. So, you know, the fun time about this time of year for the young guys, where you got some of the, the higher caliber veteran teams gearing up. Hey, it's playoff time, playoff mode. You hear LeBron say that. For our young guys, they've turned from rookies into sophomores and sophomores into third year guys. You know, this is where these guys grow up. So our guys are bought in. So I don't think it's a matter of like, hey, let's go win. We cemented where we are. Just a young team is going to take those lumps, man.
Ryan Hollins is with us here on 95.7 The Game, broadcaster for the Rockets, long time in the league as well. Ryan, who in the West is good? You've watched all these teams. I can't wrap my head around any of them going to the NBA Finals. Who do you like?
Man, I mean, we'll sound cliche and say a healthy Phoenix Suns, right? But ultimately, it's up in the air. And, you know, you may have one of these games where there's an upset. Imagine the Lakers getting one of those later seeds and you get LeBron James back healthy. And they're actually better and deeper now than they were in a while. That's a team that can go out and compete. Imagine the Pelicans, who we just saw. You got to play them in the first round, and Zion Williamson comes back from a hamstring injury, man. Like, it is absolutely wide open. And I think that when you look at that number system, man, we may find a March Madness like playoffs from a numerical standpoint. Hey, the Warriors mess around and get completely healthy. So I think more than anything, this is just that time of year where anybody could step up and win a championship this year. And when I say anybody, I mean literally anybody. I've never seen the Western Conference. Forget that. I've never seen the NBA in my experience, my 10 years playing, my time after covering the league, where it was this competitive all the way around.
Is that good for the league, you think, Ryan, the fact that the regular season has been mostly mediocre teams playing other mediocre teams? Is this good in terms of the intrigue, or ultimately is the load management and the fact that the regular season hasn't really had much urgency, is that a problem for the league?
Well, it's better per fan base because you're still in it, you're competitive, you're cheering, where, you know, the problem the league was running into, and you just knew the Warriors were going to win the championship. You had the other 90% of the NBA just tuning off and not watching NBA basketball, saying they had nothing to be interested in. So from a fan standpoint, it's excellent. We can go out and, hey, Los Angeles Clippers, you can go and cheer. You can legitimately say that your team has a chance to win the championships. Now, as far as ratings from our standpoint, it stinks. You want to know why? There's nothing better in the league than heroes and villains, because all we get to do is compare these teams to the greatest team that ever played, and or compare what's right, what's wrong. You know, the league star power sells. And I think a lot of these teams don't necessarily have the same pump, the same star power that they had in the past. So from a historical standpoint, no, it's not good. But from a league standpoint, 1 through 10, man, Pelicans are going, man, we got a chance. Get Zion back, we can win the championship, right? Lakers are going, we can win the championship as low as they are, right? So I think it's just an interesting year, man. But what's tough, it was kind of fun, man. It's like the playoffs have started already. Some of these teams could not drop a game or two, man. You find yourself out the playoffs, man.
No joke, which is exactly where the Warriors are, starting 0-3 on this road trip. Hey, man, thank you so much for hopping on. You have a great call tonight, okay?
Hey, Mark, you're still one of the first guys that I got to work with on there. Appreciate you, brother. Always fun getting a chance to work with you, man, and keep up the good work, guys.
My man. Thank you, Ryan.
All right.
There he goes. Ryan Hollins with the Houston Rockets here on 95.7 The Game.